Welcome to another edition of Peak Sound Radio's Island Conversations. I'm Chris. Today I'm pleased to be joined by Andrea Rosenberg. She is a music educator out here on Peaks Island, and she's also directing a musical called Malice in the Palace. It's the story of Esther, and she's putting it on with a bunch of island youth. We're going to be talking about that play, which is occurring at the Guild Hall at the Cathedral, right on Congress Street and Franklin Street in Portland. That's happening November 22nd at 6 p.m. You can find all of that information in the show notes of this podcast. Andrea and I touch on the basis for this play, her work with the kids, and what she hopes you will get out of it, and what she hopes the kids will get out of it too in the 21st century.
All right, so Andrea, thank you so much for talking with me about the upcoming Malice in the Palace play. I know that it's a long time coming, and that actually you had started working with this group of kids in the springtime.
Yeah, that's right. I had the idea that I usually do my piano recital and then a little chorus that sings, because I like to get kids singing, and it's really helpful and fun. But I thought that more kids would be interested in acting out a play than in just singing. So I thought, well, we could do maybe the first scene of Esther, and then I called it a trailer, which of course we all loved. And so we did the first scene after my piano recital in the spring. And it was really, really fun. It was really quite a bit of fun. So then we just were able to shoot right into it, in September with the kids kind of knowing some things about the play and knowing some of the music.
It reminds me too, and I think intentionally, of the Jonah play that you had done prior to this. So I guess maybe that's a good starting place to dive into this conversation. What drives you to musical theater, and in particular musical theater that's geared towards kids?
Well, I started out, as a young adult. I was in operas and in musicals, always as an extra. I was in the chorus, or, I was like the maid in an opera, and I just really loved it and found it to be so much fun. Then, if you fast forward to, I got a job as a director of music at a small church, and I noticed there was nothing for the kids, and I also noticed they were really bored, like they would fall asleep in the pews. So I began poking around trying to find things that would be interesting, and that's when I started running across these really nicely written, well and fun kids musicals. Jonah was the first one that I discovered. The music is good. I thought also the philosophy it expressed was really good. It wasn't moralistic or snooty, or boring. And so I started putting them on as music director of these little churches, and it was really quite a bit of fun. And that's what got me the bug. Then I'm out in Peaks Island. I have all these students. They can sing, they can act, they like costumes. So I thought, why not?
And it really is such a gift to the kids out here, because they do have some music education at the school, obviously, and Faith is a great teacher of music education. But the ability to combine music with the theater experience, I think, is pretty unique to this project that you're working on.
Yeah, it is. And it's really great to have Faith, because we now have this partnership going. So she's going to be the director, the conductor at the musical. I'm going to be the accompanist, and then I help her out in her various musical ventures. So, it is. It's harder to do than straight singing, and that's why people don't want to do it. It's a lot of work and a lot of moving parts, and you have to think about so many things. But it's just so much fun to have the storytelling along with the music. Just really, it ups the fun. And kids are such naturals. What do they do? What do they like to do most? They like to play. Mm-hmm. And what do they do when they play? They act out stories. So it's such a natural for them to act out a story, with the music.
Absolutely. And having been to many of these rehearsals, I do, and actually hearing my kids do the lines at home too, I do hear, how much fun they're having with it. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about this play in particular, Malice in the Palace, and what makes it so accessible to kids.
Yeah, it really is. Well, there's so many different factors. One is the story itself, which is not a well-known story. I grew up in the Presbyterian Church, didn't know anything about it. Jews know about it. They celebrate it in March. So that's where I first learned about the story, is celebrating Purim with my Jewish friends. But the story's great. It's got one of the things the kids didn't like about Jonah is there's no bad guy or good guy. It's kind of like there's no real, like, Jonah's kind of a doofus, but he's not really a bad guy, but he's not really a good guy either. He's just kind of clueless. But this has a clear good and evil. Mordecai and Esther are brave and strong, and Haman is a mess. And then you've got your doofus and the king, and the doofus is really kind of fun. So you've got your comedy and your and your good and evil, and just that sense of bravery. And I think kids and adults like to see good win over evil, in a brave way, and that certainly makes it a great story. The team of the musician and writer that put the thing together just did such a great job, because they stayed really true to the story, but they found the humor inherent in the story and magnified it. The composing is wonderful. Alan Pote just does such a good job of creating tunes that are so catchy right away. You start playing them and kids will want to sing them. Also beautiful. So I've got Esther, after she makes her very brave statement, "If I die, I die," she sings this beautiful song called Wings of the Dawn. And what the composer did is he took some of the most beautiful phrases from Psalms, Psalm, I think it's 139, where if I go to the ends of the ocean. Anyway, and then the tune that Alan Pote set it to is so beautiful. And these little girls are just, they just love it. Wings of the Dawn, they will ask for it. They want to learn it. There's another song that they love called This Is the Day, which is lively. What the composer does there is so wonderful, because the tune doesn't really change, but he changes key. So it stays interesting, but yet little kids can learn it. So, it's just a real great example. These two unknowns. Who's ever heard of Tom Long and Alan Pote? Although Alan Pote is fairly well known in church music circles. He's done a lot of wonderful composing, but they did really a masterful job of getting the drama and the magic and the humor of the story and putting it all into a really accessible play.
Yeah, and you've sort of hinted at the fact that the kids in this particular group are enjoying it. They're wanting to learn it. Can you talk about what it's like to work with these particular kids that are doing this play?
Oh, it's so much fun. It really is. I think one of my favorite things in the world to do is watch a child fall in love with a piece of music. And of course, many of them I know very well because they're also my piano students. So, kids like Lucy, I've been teaching for 4 years, so I know them. And that makes it, one of the fun things is it's much easier to coach a child that trusts you. And, and it's much easier to correct them. If they don't know you well and you say, "That was terrible," they're going to feel bad. But if they know you really well and they know that you love them, you can say, "That didn't work. Do that again." And they won't be offended. And that's actually happened a few times. They're very comfortable. So they're very rowdy. So that's, they're not like sitting, quietly in their chairs and being silent. But they also earnestly and truly want to make it work, and want to cooperate. And there's a lot of love, actually, just to not be too sentimental about it. But yeah, just loving the music and loving the story together, and a lot of joking. It's also the community thing, which is that Liz Rollins got wind that I was doing this thing, and she said, "Do you need any costumes?" And she brought over some wonderful, lots of sparkles stuff that the kids are quite excited about wearing, including something. The king is being played by Colin Maharg, and he refers to, I forget, he's got this very fancy coat, and he actually named it, and I can't remember the name. Oh, Zesty Man. He calls it his Zesty Man vest, and it is zesty. It's beaded. It's gorgeous. So, yeah, it's really fun to work with. And then I see them, right? So you can make jokes. You can make in-jokes about the play on the ferry because I see them all the time. So that's really fun, too.
Yeah, and I wonder if you've noticed the group of kids has sort of come together in a way, because I did theater when I was in school too, and I feel like those do become really durable friendships because you're not afraid to be vulnerable and to try things in front of them. Have you noticed anything like that with this group?
Oh yeah, definitely. That you have to be vulnerable to do live theater, and it definitely produces a bond. In fact, what was I doing? I was teaching piano, and I was teaching piano to one little girl, and two little girls who were in the play were also here hanging out, and they just decided to read through it just for the fun of it. So it's a wonderful vehicle for friendship. And the other thing is that I just noticed, like, if there's like when we had the microburst, when all that wind came,
Yes.
It was so wonderful because a crisis makes people come together. So within a half an hour, everyone's checking on everyone else and everyone's sawing, in a way, doing live theater creates a crisis, and it really promotes working together as a team, and kids get that right away. They start saying, "Oh, this is my chance to." And there's challenges. Sometimes you're bored when you don't have a line for a while, or you forget your line. People have to help you. So it is. It's an inherently vulnerable thing, much more vulnerable than making a recording, where you can edit it.
That's right.
It's live theater, so I love that. I was once at a dance performance, and the young man fell down in the middle of the performance, and it was a small community theater thing, but everyone sort of gasped, and he got up and finished, and he left, and the director came out, great, one of those elegant ex-ballerinas, came out, and she smiled, a beautiful smile, and she said, "This is a live performance," and I thought that really said it all. That's because it's in a live performance, you make mistakes, but it's more alive. I love that.
Yeah. Not to get too philosophical, but you're right. Like a recording like we're doing now, or basically anything people post on social media is so curated.
Exactly.
And I wonder if you have any thoughts about like the renewed importance maybe of doing things live and doing things like you're doing with kids who are growing up in a world that is so, I guess, performative in a way that's not live, right? In a way that's just trying to put your best, perfect self forward.
Yeah, I think it's a really big deal. I really do. I think it's like, you have to save, I don't know, the snowy owl or whatever, but I think you have to save live performance. It has a certain, well, one of that is the curated, right? So, I had to give up Facebook because, all I wanted to do was show my best self and then feel jealous of other people's best selves. I mean, it was horrible. Brought out the worst in me. And that is the other thing that is so true is that we live in a star culture. So if you're not Beyonce, then why bother? And many people will say they can't sing. And that wasn't true. Even in my childhood, there was no one who, it's like everyone sings. But now it's like if you can't win, if you can't be the star, if you can't be the best, you shouldn't bother. And that's really bad, I think. Yeah. Because I think we all there's such an emphasis on STEM, and that's totally fine. But everyone needs the arts. We all need to be able to express ourselves in some artistic way. So, I don't, I'm inclusive. I know that everyone can be a part of the play, whether it's just being in the chorus or having a small part. And I do think it's really an endangered species, and also there's it's necessary for our mental health for us to make art together, and not necessarily make it perfect. And it will not be. I can state very definitely right now, it will not be a perfect performance because it will be live.
And you're right. That's great for the kids to learn too, right? Yeah. Because they're going to get up there. Something inevitably is going to happen that isn't happening exactly as it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's good for them to see, right? Because the world's not going to end.
No,
and people are not,
and that's life. Nothing actually in actual life, in on-screen edited life, you can make everything perfect, but. There's another story that really made an impression on me of a pianist, Glenn Gould, who was fabulous pianist. And but he couldn't handle the fact that when he performed live, it wasn't always as good as he wanted it to be. And so he stopped performing live, and he would only make recordings.
Wow.
And his mental health really suffered. And he died young of something related to his mental health, because he wanted only that curated Glenn Gould self. And that really hit me, you know. So before a piano recital, I'll say, you're probably going to make a mistake, but it's okay. You know, people will still, it's still a gift you're giving. It is a wonderful gift you're giving people because it's alive, and you're taking that risk to get out there and, you know, and mess up. Yeah, it's just so much fun too.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. And sort of picking up a thread that you talked about before too, about how theater sort of creates a crisis that people have to go through.
Right.
We know that the people who are acting and the people who are playing the music, they're a huge part of that. But there's also other folks in the background too. And I know that you do have folks who are helping out with the play. Can you tell me a little bit about the community support that's come along to make this happen?
Oh yeah, it's huge. Like everyone, you know, I mean, there's my husband, who's like the big background person who fills in all the gaps that, I mean, he just kind of roves around looking for gaps and fills them in. That's really important. Faith is vital. I had throat surgery in the spring, and there's certain notes I can't even hit. So I needed her really badly to come and model those high notes, but she's also a superb conductor and advisor. I mean, she saw a few mistakes I was making and informed me. Then there's many, many parents, but Gail Kelly in particular saw the need for help with snacks, and she's become like the snack person. For the actual performance, we have a sign-up sheet. I mean, it's going to be an all-hands-on-deck situation, and people are already signing up for food and for help with supervision. Then there's the people over at Guild Hall who also are, you know, tweaking things around to help us out. Larry, Faith's husband, is always there with the technical help because inevitably, you know, things go wrong in that area. The costumes, people have come through with costume help. And the really basis of all this is parents. If you don't have parents getting their kids to rehearsals, you don't have a show. So that's the really foundational thing, is all the parents get their kids here and encourage it. So it couldn't happen without like tons of community support. Peter Sarachik is loaning his three-cornered hat. You know, I mean, so many people.
One of the things that I want to pick up on there too is that this is happening not just on the island but in town. And you were talking about the Guild Hall. Can you talk to me a little bit about the collaboration going on there with the church and making this happen?
Yeah. So to find a stage in November on the island was really hard. So I decided to just go in and talk to the rector, and made an appointment with him and said, you know, I want to do this. And I was actually kind of surprised when he said, yeah, that'd be great. He came out to a rehearsal of Jonah out here and watched the kids do some of the songs. And so they've been very, very generous with their, it's a really nice setting too. It's an enormous stage that has been about 2/3 of it taken up with soup kitchen supplies. But even if we, you know, even in front of the soup kitchen supplies, there's good 10 feet of space. And it's also very exciting. When we were doing Jonah, and I said, this is going to be in town. And one of the kids said, oh, so it will be a real show. So yeah. They and also they have a van. So they had just gotten their van just before Jonah, and they were having a really hard time with some kind of bureaucratic step. And Father Seamus said, this show can be the sort of inspiration for getting the thing on the road. So they picked the kids up I was really worried about kids walking up alongside Franklin, excited traffic. So they did a shuttle for the kids. up to the dress rehearsal, which was wonderful, and kids loved it and they remembered it. So that will happen again. They'll be picking us up for the dress rehearsal on Friday and taking us there for the performance. The van is unfortunately busy, so but I think since all the parents will be coming to the performance, I think it will be fine for everyone to just get their kids there. So yeah, that's been really wonderful, and they were really excited. Well, I don't know if everyone was, but Father Seamus was very excited because he's sort of a drama guy. Mm-hmm. He's the rector, and he said, this hasn't been used as a theater for 30 years, but that's what it used to be. It used to be for plays. So I would love to bring back that custom, and there's plenty of room for us and the soup kitchen. So
right, That's super. So since we're talking about the Guildhall, do you mind running through the details for folks who want to go, who maybe aren't quite as plugged in, right? So parents obviously know the date and the time and that sort of thing, but how can Islanders go if they want to get to this play and watch these kids?
Right. Well, I carefully designed the timing around the boats. So if one wants to go on November 22nd, one can take the 5 o'clock boat, and you can walk or drive and get there in plenty of time at 6 o'clock. It's a 6 o'clock show. It's about 45 minutes. And then afterwards, you might want to stay for the cast party. The kids will be running around excited. So, and then you can get the 7:15 back. That would be pretty easy. Some people are going to the show and then going to something afterwards in town. That's a common thing. So, but it will definitely be a very enjoyable island event. I mean, except for my grandson Frankie, who lives on the mainland. It's all the kids and love and see around the neighborhood.
So this has been a wonderful conversation. I just want to sort of end it with what you think you're going to take away from the show. What have you sort of experienced already that you're going to sort of hold with you that you think has really like an enduring power for you?
Just how much kids love to act out plays and really feeling like it's worth it to really take the time to find the good scripts with the good music, to gather the team, to schedule the rehearsals. It's really worth it to see them light up. And so the takeaway is to want to do it again, and kids have already asked me, what are we doing next year? So I'm hoping I can find the Jonah script and the Esther script are so remarkable. I hope I can find, I'm trying to write something too, but it would never be as good as theirs. So I hope I can find or dig up something as good for next year. That's my hope. The other thing that's a little bit on my mind is that it would be wonderful to be able to get together a group of high schoolers to do some things that are more sophisticated. Mm-hmm. My older granddaughter, Leah, had mentioned that. And but there's so few high schoolers. But I would love to figure out some way to work with that group and do some more sophisticated things, because it is different to do it with your island buddies than in, she goes to Portland High. But you got a big group there, but to do it with your island buddies, that would be really kind of special. So I'm hoping that something will occur to me that would be good to do with a small group of teenagers.
Yeah, I think that's so needed too. I think one of the things that had come out in that island study that they had done was that there's a real gap for like middle school and high school age kids.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, particularly middle school. I feel like that's the lost group. It's like, even when I look at books, it's like there's lots and lots and lots of wonderful little kid books, and then you get up to high school, you get into very sophisticated. But those 11, 12, 13-year-olds. It's kind of like a desert. So, it would be wonderful to, I've got some middle schoolers in this play. Maybe if I could put up together something that was for middle and high schoolers, just that older group. It's definitely something that I would like to think about.
All right, anything else you want to share with the community ahead of the show?
No, just if you come, you'll be very proud. You'll be proud to be associated with these kids. And I really appreciate all the support that I've gotten from everybody, including especially parents.
Well, we very much appreciate you too, and the time and effort and love that you put into working with our kids.
Thank you. It's good to talk.
Right, thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more conversations with Islanders and people relevant to Peaks Island, you can check us out at peaksislandradio.com, or you can follow the show in your favorite podcast app.